People always said I had a beautiful smile. At school, teachers smiled back at me. My friends said I was cheerful. Even strangers thought I was happy. Whenever someone asked, "How are you?" I always answered the same way, "I'm fine." And I smiled. What they did not know was how heavy my heart felt every day. My smile was like a mask. It was strong on the outside, but behind it, I was breaking slowly. Every morning, I stood in front of the mirror. I practiced my smile before leaving the house. I lifted the corners of my lips and told myself, "Be strong. Don't let them see." Sometimes, my eyes looked tired, but I ignored that part. At home, things were not easy. The house was often quiet, but not peaceful. Silence can be loud when it is full of worries. Bills lay on the table. My parents were always tired. They tried their best, but stress lived with us like an unwanted guest. I learned early not to complain. When my mother asked, "Are you okay?" I nodded. When my father said, "Everything will be fine," I believed him, even when I was unsure. At school, my friends laughed a lot. They talked about dreams, plans, and happy moments. I laughed with them, but my laughter felt empty. Inside, I was afraid. Afraid of the future, afraid of failing, afraid of being a burden. There were days when I wanted to cry during class. My chest felt tight, and my head felt heavy. But I looked around and saw everyone else smiling. So I smiled too. One day, my best friend said, "You're always so positive. I wish I was like you." Her words surprised me. If only she knew the truth. At night, when the lights were off and the world was quiet, my smile disappeared. That was when my pain came out. Tears rolled down my face without making a sound. I hugged my pillow tightly and asked myself questions I could not answer. Why do I feel like this? Why can't I be truly happy? Is something wrong with me? I felt weak for feeling sad. I felt guilty for not being grateful. So the next morning, I woke up and wore my smile again. Because smiling was easier than explaining. Because smiling stopped people from asking questions. Because smiling hid my pain. But deep inside, I knew something was changing. My smile was getting heavier, and one day, I feared it might crack. That was the beginning of my story. A story about a smile everyone loved, and pain no one saw. As time passed, my smile did not feel light anymore. It felt heavy, like I was carrying something I could not put down. I smiled so often that I forgot how my real face looked. Every day followed the same routine. Wake up, get ready, smile, go out, smile again. I smiled at school, at home, and even when I was alone with others around. It became a habit, not a feeling. But inside me, something was wrong. I started feeling tired all the time, not the kind of tired that sleep could fix. It was a deep tiredness, sitting in my heart and mind. Even after resting, I felt empty. Small things began to hurt me. A simple joke felt sharp. A careless word stayed in my head for hours. I replayed conversations again and again, wondering if I was good enough. Still, I smiled. One afternoon, a teacher asked me to answer a question. I stood up, but my mind went blank. My hands were shaking, my heart beat fast. I could hear my own breathing. Everyone was looking at me. I forced a smile and answered softly. When I sat down, my legs felt weak. No one noticed. They never did. That day I realized how lonely pain can be when it is hidden. At home, I locked myself in my room more often. I said I was studying, but most of the time, I was just staring at the wall. My thoughts were loud. They told me I was not doing enough, not trying hard enough, not strong enough. Sometimes, I wanted someone to notice. I wished someone would say, "You don't look okay." But everyone believed my smile. Friends came to me with their problems. I listened. I comforted them. I told them everything would be all right. I was good at giving hope to others, even when I had none for myself. Late at night, I wrote in a notebook. I wrote things I could never say out loud. Words about fear. Words about sadness. Words about feeling lost. That notebook became my silent friend. One night I looked at my reflection again. I smiled at the mirror, but my eyes were wet. For the first time, I asked myself a scary question. How long can I keep pretending? I wanted to stop smiling. I wanted to rest. I wanted to tell someone the truth, but fear held me back. What if they did not understand? What if they thought I was weak? So the next day I smiled again. But deep inside I knew the truth. My smile was no longer protecting me. It was hurting me. And slowly, very slowly, my hidden pain was growing louder. One day, my smile began to crack. It did not happen suddenly. It happened in small moments, moments that people did not notice, but I felt deeply. I started forgetting things, simple things, homework, messages, small promises. My mind felt full, yet empty at the same time. I tried to focus, but my thoughts kept drifting away. At school, my grades slowly dropped. Teachers looked confused. They said, "You can do better." I nodded and smiled, but their words felt heavy on my chest. I wanted to explain, but I did not know how. I did not know what was wrong with me. My friends invited me out, but I made excuses. I'm tired. I have work to do. The truth was, I did not have the energy to pretend anymore. Being around people made me feel more alone. Sometimes, I sat in a crowded room and felt invisible. One evening, my mother knocked on my door. She looked at me carefully and asked, "Are you really okay?" For a moment, my heart stopped. The truth stood at the edge of my lips. My eyes burned. My hands trembled. But then my smile appeared. "I'm fine," I said. She nodded, but her eyes showed worry. When she left, I felt tears fall. I hated myself for lying, but I was scared to be honest. That night, the pain felt too heavy. My chest hurt. Breathing felt hard. I hugged my knees and cried silently. I did not know how to make it stop. I thought about my smile, how everyone believed it, how it fooled even the people who loved me most. I opened my notebook and wrote one sentence again and again. "I am not okay." Writing it felt strange, but also real. The next day, I forgot to smile once. Just once. A friend noticed and asked, "What's wrong?" I froze. My heart raced. I wanted to speak, but no words came out. I forced a small smile and said, "Nothing." But something had changed. Someone had noticed. That small moment stayed in my mind all day. It made me wonder what would happen if I stopped hiding. What would happen if I let my smile rest? That night, I looked at myself in the mirror. I did not smile. I looked tired. I looked sad. But I also looked honest. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel everything. The pain did not disappear, but it felt lighter when I stopped fighting it. The cracks in my smile were no longer something to fear. They were signs that I needed help. And maybe, just maybe, I did not have to face this alone. After that night, I began to think about asking for help. It was not easy. I was scared. I thought people might judge me or say I was weak. But the pain was too much to carry alone. One morning, I decided to talk to my mother. I told her about the tiredness, the sadness, and the heavy heart. I told her how I felt alone, even with my smile. She listened quietly. Her eyes were soft and full of love. She held my hand and said, "Thank you for telling me. We will get through this together." That moment was the first small light in my darkness. After that, I talked to a school counselor. At first, I was shy and unsure, but the counselor was kind. She did not rush me. She let me speak at my own speed. I learned that feeling pain and sadness does not mean I am weak. It means I am human. Slowly, I started to find new ways to take care of myself. I wrote in my notebook more honestly. I tried to rest without feeling guilty. I smiled less when I felt like crying. My friends noticed the change. One friend said, "You seem different, but in a good way." I smiled, but this time it felt softer. It did not hide my pain. It showed my hope. Not all days were easy. Sometimes, sadness still came back. But I knew I had people who cared. I knew I could ask for help. The smile I wore was no longer a mask. It was a sign of strength, not hiding but healing. One afternoon, I looked out the window. The sun was shining. Birds were singing. I felt a small peace inside me. I realized that healing is a journey. It takes time, but every step forward is a victory. That day I smiled for myself. A smile that said, "I am trying. I am surviving." And that was enough. With time, I learned more about myself. I understood that it's okay to feel pain. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be honest about how I feel. My smile changed. It became real. Not perfect, but true. I shared my story with close friends. They listened without judging. Some shared their own struggles. We supported each other. I was no longer alone. At school, I worked hard but also took breaks when I needed. I stopped pretending all the time. It was scary, but freeing. At home, my family became closer. We talked more openly. We laughed, cried, and healed together. Sometimes, the pain still came back like a dark cloud. But I was stronger now. I knew how to find the light again. One day, a younger student came to me and said, "You always seem happy. How do you do it?" I smiled gently and said, "Sometimes, it's okay not to be happy. But it's important to keep going, one day at a time." I hope my story helps others who hide their pain behind a smile. You are not alone. Your feelings are real, and you can find your light too. A smile is beautiful when it shows who you really are, not when it hides your pain. My smile is still with me, but now it is a smile of courage, hope, and healing. This is my new beginning.